This is the Better Life Podcast, where we talk about real estate investing, building wealth, and all in all living a better life. My name is Brandon Turner, and I've spent my life investing in real estate to achieve financial freedom. And alongside my co-host, Mr. Cam Cathcart, we want to help you do the same. On the show, you're going to hear from world-class guests who have been handpicked to help you level up your investing, your leadership, your goals, your habits, and more to become the very best version of yourself. So join us as we explore the habits, the actions, the beliefs that it takes to build wealth through real estate investing without losing your soul. All right, everybody, let's talk deal analysis today. So I've been preaching this for a decade or longer, right? Like deal analysis, knowing how to run the numbers on a rental property is like the most important thing. Like if you can't get that right, it doesn't really matter how good of a property manager you are. It doesn't really matter how good you are at finding deals. You could be the best wholesaler in the world, finding all these great deals. If you can't do your math, it just doesn't matter. You have to be good at the math. You make your money when you buy. How do you know that? The math. That's what shows you it. But the vast majority of real estate investors don't know how to actually underwrite a deal. Most people buy based on their gut, based on just a preliminary napkin analysis, based on what they think is gonna be a good deal, based on smoking a lot of hopium, just hoping that it's gonna be good, but they don't actually know if it's a good deal or not. So today I'm gonna lay out a bunch of stuff all around deal analysis. I really want this to be like the ultimate guide to looking at cash flowing rental properties, whether or not you should buy them or not. I'm gonna lay out what I call 4 theories of analysis. I'm going to talk through big difference between phantom cash flow and pure cash flow. You've probably heard me rant on this before. I'm going to do it again because I just am so tired of people losing properties, going bankrupt, getting foreclosed on because they don't know how to analyze deals right. We're going to talk about the 4 square method. You may have seen that video on YouTube. We're actually going to walk through each of those squares on how to analyze rental properties by hand. We'll talk about some of the most common expenses. I'll lay out 13 or so of the most common expenses you're going to find owning rental properties. We'll talk about kind of how to find those numbers and how to really know what to plug in there. We'll talk about CapEx. CapEx is one of the biggest, most misunderstood expenses that drives people nuts, and it makes them buy properties they shouldn't buy and do deals they shouldn't do. Repairs are also a big piece of that. We'll talk about what is a good ROI. What does that even mean? Or what's a good overall return? What should we be shooting for today? Phantom versus pure cash flow. Phantom cash flow is how most people, especially newbies, analyze rental properties. They say, well, my rent is $2,000. You know, I got a $1,200 loan, and then I got to pay about $100 a month in insurance, and taxes are a couple $100. Most people know to include taxes and insurance in their loan. Not everybody. You guys, you'd be shocked at the number of pro formas that I've seen from brokers, like from real estate brokers, selling investment properties, and they forget to include taxes and insurance. It's actually fairly common, which is just another tip I'll give you. Never, ever let anybody else do your math. Like, never trust an agent. Never trust somebody else to do your math homework. That is your job, to be good at the math. Until you get to a point where you're so successful and loaded that you can hire an underwriter on your team, even then, like I have multiple underwriters, I still review deals. At the top left quadrant, you have your income. So gross rental income, which would be like the total rent that comes in. But you might have other income, laundry machine income, storage income, if you have like some storage units. And I would encourage you guys to think, when you're looking at a property, how can I maximize my income? There's a great book out there called Landlording on Autopilot by Mike Butler. Anybody read that one? It's a great, Mike Butler's like this old school landlord from like Kentucky. But that book made a big impact on me because he's just so practical, but he does some funny stuff for increasing income. He's got a lot of income increasing ideas. But like one of them is he doesn't provide a deadbolt. Oh, you want a deadbolt? A deadbolt's $10 a month more. Now, I'm not saying you should go that far. It's a funny idea though, especially when you have a portfolio of 40, 50, 60, 100 units and you're charging $10 a month. And most tenants, when you're signing a lease, you're like, do you want a deadbolt with an electric keypad? Just $10 a month more. Yeah, actually, that would be great. It's only $10. That adds up with a lot of units, with a lot of properties. So I get it. Sometimes there's a different use for your property. You're like, well, I'm using it as a normal rental, but what if I rented it by the room? So I have a 4-bedroom house, and this 4-bedroom house currently rents for $3,000 a month. But what if I rented each bedroom out for $1,200 a piece? And now I'm getting $4,800 a month in rent on rent by the room. Now, is it more hell to manage? Of course. You got 4 separate tenants instead of 1. Is that amount worth $1,800 a month in extra cash flow? Would be for me. If you talk about $1,800 over the course of a year, you're at like, what is that, almost $20,000? Am I doing that math right? Yeah, it's like $20,000, a little bit more, I think, in additional now cash flow. That's an extra $400,000 in valuation on a property at a 5 cap. That's wild. So part of knowing income is also knowing potential income. Next, we go to expenses, and there's a lot of them. I'm gonna give you a whole list here. You have the loan, you have insurance, You have utilities. Utilities could include water, sewer, garbage, electricity, gas, taxes, of course. You got repairs. You got CapEx. You got vacancy. We already talked about that. Your property sits empty once in a while. You got pest control. You got snow removal, maybe. Landscaping, maybe. Management. You got legal, like I talked about LLC formations and other legal documents. And then just random miscellaneous other stuff. Now, it's important that we don't just analyze expenses for how they have been. This is a big mistake that landlords make all the time, that newbies especially make. We analyze based on how things have been. When you get a pro forma from a real estate investor or a real estate agent, they're typically showing you how it's been. They'll give you maybe a trailing 12 or a T12 it's called. It's like, here's how it's been. And that's fine. It's better than nothing. But I always want to know, like, is it really going to stay that way? Is that what it's going to be? The big one there to wonder is taxes. Different areas account for taxes differently. This is one of the most important things when analyzing a deal. The taxes may be $3,000 a year right now. But how does your local county decide when to raise taxes? Is it based on the sale price when the property sells? Or is it just refigured every couple years, or every year, or every 5 years? Let's just say your area only reassesses when a property is sold, and the property hasn't been sold in 15 years. So you're analyzing for $3,000 a year for taxes, and you don't realize that they're going to reassess as soon as you buy it for way more than they paid 15 years ago. And all of a sudden now your taxes are not $3,000 a year, they're $12,000 a year. And that deal that was a $500 a month deal suddenly became a $5,000 a year loss. How do you assess taxes? You can call the county assessor. You can talk to them. You can go down there and just say, hey, I'm a new real estate investor. I'm trying to buy properties. Can you just help me understand so I don't mess this up? Like, who's going to fault you on that? You know, like, they're going to sit down, they're going to explain it to you. They're people. CapEx is the saving up money, or the setting aside. You don't have to physically set it aside, but the idea of the replacement of large items in your property. So we're not talking about just repairing things, like when a tenant gets angry and they punch the wall and they put a hole in the wall and you have to send somebody over there to patch up that wall. Yes, that happens. If you are a landlord, you probably know that happens. That's a repair. When the refrigerator goes out and you need a brand new fridge, that is CapEx. When your fridge light bulb goes out and you need a new light bulb, that's a repair. The roof is 25 to 30 years, then it dies. Well, let me ask you, how much does a brand new roof cost? I can tell you, I just put one on. It was $30,000 to put on a new roof on a property I had here in Hawaii. So in other words, if it lasts 30 years and it's $30,000, I should be setting aside about $1,000 every single month for a roof. Now, I don't have to physically set it aside, but I want to account for that. Now, again, that was an expensive roof. Not all roofs cost that much. Water heaters, 7 to 10 years. What's a new water heater cost? If you have a plumber come put it in, what, $2,000 every 10 years? That's a real number. All right, third, we got cash flow. So we started with income, and we got our total income, a number we really feel comfortable with. On average, every month, what are we bringing in? Then we now have our real expenses, our actual expenses, which if we take our total income, our pure income, and subtract out our pure expenses, we're left with our monthly pure cash flow. And that number I care a lot about. That's the number that I like to say, I want at least $100 per month per unit. Now that number can go up or down depending on different factors. We can talk about that in a little bit, but ultimately I would love to know monthly pure cash flow, because that is your financial freedom ticket, right? Most people don't get rich off cash flow, but we're able to quit our jobs off cash flow. You got to get that pure cash flow coming in. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels for decades, trying to invest in real estate, not making any money. 40 years later, you're getting divorced and bankrupt in the same year. Don't do that. And now we want to know our return. In other words, before I go there, what do I mean? Well, I mean, if I told you that a property made $1,000 a year in cash flow, is that a good amount of cash flow? What do you think? $1,000 a year, is that good? Depends, right? Depends on what? Depends on how much money you put into it. If you put in $1 billion of your money, 1 billion with a B, and you made $1,000 a year, is that a good investment? Of course not. If you put in $1 into a deal and you made $1,000 a year, is that a good investment? That sounds awesome. All day long, I'd do that deal, right? Now, assuming it didn't need a ton of like my hourly money, like my hourly life, that sounds pretty great. So the way that we then look at, yes, we care about pure cash, but we have to balance it with the return. And what we look at primarily, what I care most about, is cash on cash return. That means it is the total amount of money you have invested in the deal. All the money that came out of your pocket to buy the property divided by the annual pure cash flow. That means 1,000 divided by 10,000, that is a 10% cash on cash return. We want every single one of you to have that financial life, personal life, the relationships that you deserve and that you desire. So let us help you get that. And while we do that, we're going to build this tribe and give away millions of dollars in the process. That's the plan. Thank you all. And that, my friends, is the show. Thank you for tuning in. And hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this episode or if you just enjoy the show in general, please consider leaving us a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We really do value your feedback and we read the comments. We make future decisions about topics and guests and everything else. Plus, it helps us reach more people. And the more reviews we get, the more people hear it and watch the show and share it. And it's awesome. Last but not least, please head over to social media. Consider befriending me, following me, subscribing to all that stuff at Better Life and my personal page at Beardy Brandon, especially over on Instagram, YouTube, and really everywhere else. So thank you again for listening. I'm honored that you would bring me along on your journey toward building wealth through real estate investing without losing your soul. Now, this show is about living a better life, but if you want my opinion on what it takes to live the best life ever, just go to abetterlife.com/best life to hear some of my views on life and spirituality. I think you'll like it. abetterlife.com/best life. With that said, thanks for listening to the show.